Sure.
Okay. Um, how's everybody doing? Today is your backup plan Men in Business, and we are with guest speaker Roger Gaudette, and he's with Kangen Water. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself and about getting better prepared in business. Men in business need to also think about what kinds of things that would affect their family and friends and loved ones and themselves as well. So let's get started. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And Rogers, we're gonna put your links down below as well. So we'll attach those to today's podcast as well as our live event tomorrow. So Roger, let's get started. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Basically, I teach people about hydration, how hydration could completely change their life. I was a heavy water drinker before what I was introduced to, and I thought water was just water, and it had completely changed my life. So, I mean, I was lucky enough to fall into what we do now, and to hit a home run right out of the park. First time doing anything like this direct marketing that we're doing. Yeah, so that's what I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I work from home. I travel all over with my wife, and we're both international speakers. And yeah, we're on call. We're asked to tell our story all over the world, really. And that's what I've been doing is during this COVID, we've been busy just Zooming with people from all over the world, like India, Malaysia, Indonesia. And it's been crazy. And yeah, we have a big following, and it's beautiful to be able to share what I do and what we do and the story behind it as well.
And I love your story. It's an amazing story. A little bit about your wife with Sabina, but your story is quite spectacular, and you really need to tell us your story.
Oh, I will for sure. Well, thanks. And yeah, I mean, anytime we could touch people's lives is quite dramatic too. And that's the big benefit with us is the thank yous after what we do for people. But basically what happened to me was I was trained in the military as a combat engineer. And that's basically guys that go around and disarm bombs and minefields, and we build booby traps, we build bridges, we blow up bridges. So we're like the guys in front of the infantry that are clearing the way for all them guys to be able to do what they do during wartime. And in 91, when Kuwait hit, we were, that's when all the oil fields were on fire, and Saddam Hussein was, setting everything on fire. And we were 350 combat engineers out of Chilliwack, British Columbia. We were sent over there about halfway through the war to start building observation posts, but also to disarm minefields and everything else. The cluster mines were dropped all over the place, so we were there to help clear the path and all the different bunkers and munitions and everything else that we did. But almost immediately when I hit the ground, and a lot of us, like what I'm going to tell you, there's just the American stats, there's over 250,000 soldiers that have affected from what is called Gulf War syndrome or Gulf War illness. And for me, as soon as I hit the ground, I started hacking and coughing. And what they do is that we're in this massive warehouse, and they go around this DDT smoker because to get rid of the bugs and the scorpions and everything else. So they'd spray the DDT throughout the building, and it would all lay down onto our cots, right? So I'd go to lay down at night and I'd start hacking and coughing, and I couldn't stop. And we were into this massive, massive warehouse, and my cough would echo throughout the whole building. So I was keeping everybody awake. And I mean, I still today get bugged from my army buddies on how much I kept them awake, right? And yeah, so I'd have to go outside and have these big bouts, and I could never sleep. And it got to the point where they had to send me into the medics, into the Kuwaiti hospital, and put steroids on me, because in the whole month I slept a total of 3 hours. I could not sleep. it didn't matter. Even when I was in the hospital, I could not sleep. So they medically evacuated me out of Kuwait, and to the point where I was getting dizzy spells, coughing, hacking, and it was getting worse and worse. So I got medically evacuated after a month, and my symptoms started getting worse and worse. So some of the big things that I dealt with were cluster migraines. So, you know, like that's the it's suicide headache, they call it. So it's like somebody put a spike through your eyeball right through your brain and started scratching it. And I have like 3 of those a day, where to the point where I had a massive pain tolerance. But when that was happening, I was curled up in a fetal position in the basement to the point of crying and vomiting because the pain was so bad, and unable to move from my own vomit. So even if Sabina, my wife, or my son Gowan would come and touch me and say, "Are you okay?" It would just drive me through the, you know, like every little thing bothered you. And it's like you could, I use the analogy, you could hear a mosquito fart from across town. That's how bad these headaches are, right? But I also had, say again?
They're so powerful.
They are, and it drives right through you, right? And I'd have these also 6 to 10 times a day, these dizzy spells. So there's vertigo, just out of nowhere, everything would just start spinning.
Yeah.
And if I tried to stop the spin, so just like being drunk, where, you know, everything's just moving and you're trying to sleep at night, I was getting that all the time. And if I try to stop the spin, the migraine would kick in. And so one of the other big things is I also suffer with post-traumatic stress, so PTSD, and major traumatic depression. So some of the things that I did and I seen was always running through my mind. And, you know, we always have triggers, and some of my biggest triggers were watching a commercial with sick kids, because in Kuwait, there was a lot of, by the time we got there, there was a lot of the Iraqi soldiers were so harsh on the Kuwaitis, and that, like, there was actually starving kids there and that. And then I remember that, and them struggling over just the smallest, and we weren't allowed to feed them as a soldier going by. And it was like the harshest thing for me to have to deal with. And also, if my wife would cook chicken, I wouldn't see that beautiful barbecue chicken. I'd see, taste, and smell burning, rotting flesh. And so my depression got so bad that I'd stay in my basement for like 6-7 months. I would not come out. I might go outside to check the mail, but other than that, I was back into my safe zone, my sanctuary in my basement, where nothing was going to bother me because I wouldn't allow triggers to come in, right? And so, long story short, I suffered 19 years with just some of those, and that's just like there's a whole arm list of things that were, and I was a guinea pig. I was sent all over North America to doctors and everything else, and prescription. I was a guinea pig I was having pills counteracting the effects of other pills. So, I mean, it was just like, I was a test tube, basically, as being the first Canadian with Gulf War illness. And so Sabina, having to help out the family and everything else, she took up house cleaning. And so she was taking care of, you know, over 40 houses herself. And one day, one of her clients had this box that was out up on her sink, and they were running water through it. And Sabina said, "Well, what's that?" And they go, "Well, Sabina, if you press a few buttons on this machine, you could get rid of all your chemical cleaners that you're using as a house cleaner." And she used to spend well over $2,000 a year just on house cleaning stuff, right? Yeah. So she started seeing these presentations. They'd have weekly presentations, and they'd actually let her try the waters, and she'd be trying to bring some home, but I wouldn't have nothing to do with it. But she became a big believer on going absolutely chemical free, because that's a few buttons on the machine and you're completely chemical free. And her throat was always bothering her because of the chemicals, the bleaches and the ammonias and everything else. And her hands were like so dried out and cracking and bleeding, right, from cleaning. And so she started feeling better. Her hands started feeling better. Her throat was feeling better. And I mean, overall, she was feeling better. And she tried to tell me about this water and I would not hear it. Like, I was a guinea pig. I was depressed. I thought water was already water. I drank a gallon of water every day regardless because I love water. And where we lived, there was no chlorine in the water at the time. There is now, but before there wasn't. So, it never supposedly changed my life or changed, like what this company is supposed to be, change your water, change your life, right? So it wasn't until she gave up after 3 months and she said, well, I could save this much, over $2,000 a year on my chemical cleaners. And just in our house alone, we could save $3,000-4,000 just with the stuff that we're using around the house, like the grooming, the cleaners, and the getting rid of pesticides and stuff like that, our fruits and vegetables, and obviously the water as well, right? The other drinks.
Drinking.
Now, that was the only thing that got me, that if here I wasn't able to support my wife financially, but if I could support her and able to save money, and so that it doesn't cost as much for her to do what she does, and this machine isn't going to cost me anything because it's going to pay for itself within a year, then yeah, fine, get the machine, leave me alone, quit bugging me. I don't want to be, I was to the point where, we'd have some, like, she'd be crying because she'd go to these meetings and get all uplifted on what this thing could do. And then she'd come home and that was it. Like, I'd just deflate her. Right. And
Downer.
I just didn't want her to get hosed is pretty much what it is. I didn't want her to get into a scam, because what's the first thing I Googled? I Googled, because the water is Kangen water. So I go Kangen water scam, and that's what I Googled. And that's what you're going to get. You could go to scam after any sentence and you're going to get it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was it. We got the machine only because it was going to save us money. And the only reason she really had to bug me is because I had the other credit card that she needed to purchase, right? Like, because we didn't know about the payment plans that they have for them now and everything else. So it was like, okay, she had half, I had half, and she needed mine. And so we got the machine, and finally we hook it up on the counter, and I say, well, what am I supposed to do? She goes, she just put it on the big boy stuff, right? The 9.5. And you've been enjoying that water too, right? And so I started drinking, and almost right away, Tina, I felt the throbbing in the back of my neck, in my brain. And it felt like somebody had you upside down. Your blood is pumping when you're upside down. And it went on for about 2 weeks. It didn't hurt, but I could feel the thumping. And then after that 2 weeks, it just let go. And from that point, I hadn't had any migraines, no vertigo. My PTSD had diminished right to almost nothing.
Wow.
And I didn't believe it. I thought, okay, I'm feeling better. I start getting rid of my medications. And so I stopped drinking the water, because I'm still trying to prove her wrong that this water is just water. It's whatever. It's a placebo, right?
How can it fix you, really?
Yeah.
It's just water.
That's right. It's impossible. So then within 2 days, my symptoms would come back. I drink the Kangen water and then it go away. And it was like after 4 times, that was it. I'm tired of me feeling like when you feel what health is for a long time, then you feel what disease is. You don't want disease. No. We're so used to being into disease that we become accustomed to it. Our aches and pains, we just learn to live with, rather than understanding what does it feel like to be, pain-free. Is it?
Yeah, free.
Yeah, exactly.
In all senses.
Exactly. And so we've been doing this since 2010. I've been symptom-free for 10 years, over 10 years. And if this machine never came into my life, I would never have promoted it. I would never have done anything of the sort. I thought it was some pyramid scheme, but it completely is changing lives. And we've have thousands and thousands of people underneath us now that we've completely had either a small part or a big part into completely changing their life. And I know that we've been sharing some these amazing waters with you, and you swear by them as well, right?
Absolutely. It even tastes good. It feels good. It's like your body like wants it. I
Yeah.
can't even explain it.
Yeah, I mean, we are electrical. The water is electrical. And now when you add the two, it just sucks right into our body the way it was meant to. Like if you've ever been in a thunderstorm and there's lightning hitting the lake and you go swimming, boy, do you feel good after that. It's like you completely feel alive. And that's kind of how you feel with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic story, and I tell so many people about it. And being an Army brat myself, I feel your pain, and I understand completely how you can get tied up with PTSD. You can get tied up with your work. You can get tied up with all those toxics that you were around that you couldn't seem to get any doctor to think that maybe water would just be the only thing that would help. That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's impossible. Yeah, I mean, their job is to describe pills,
Yeah.
prescribe pills, and just like a mechanic's there to change parts.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And so to look at something like you have to go to the way they're doing it in Japan and everything, where they're actually working on what causes these other diseases, right? So you bring your body back into balance, and then it thrives.
Yeah.
It just does. And so I just want to touch on the PTSD. Just it's a big part, like you said. Before, if I'd see something, I'd go into massive depression for months and months. Nowadays, it's not like it wiped out my memory. I still get goosebumps if I've got a visual all the time of a body coming out of a blown up vehicle, and he's completely burnt. It's charcoal, and I feel it. I get goosebumps and I get shivers. The anxiety kicks in, but within minutes it's gone, and I'm not dwelling on it. Though it what I discovered is the water, because of the hydrogen in the water creates a cell resignaling, and it helps the body have good thoughts rather than bad thoughts. It's crazy how it works. So,
That's amazing.
and that's what I had to do. I had to go into the science because I needed to now tell my Army buddies.
Yeah.
I couldn't just do a couple drops and drinks and say, see, there's difference. No, I had to give them science behind it. So, and that's what we've been doing ever since, right?
So do you think the coronavirus has that same kind of impact on people? Because with the emergency type of, police, RCMP, ambulance, hospital workers, they're all experiencing these new types of coronavirus types of things coming into their world. And it must have an impact, just like the drug overdoses do. I mean, how can you get that out of your mind?
I think when you're in it, you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, until you actually, it's like if you had an abusive husband and you have a reminder of that person every day because you're with that person. So it's not until you leave and get some of the signals out of your, like what initiates these things, like the visuals of a person. It's the same thing with the firemen and everything else. And it's added stress now because it's more preparedness they have to go when they go into a job.
Yeah.
And now it's the fear 2 weeks after you have contact with somebody that you don't even know if they have COVID or not. But now there's always that 2-week delay to say, okay, now who did I come in contact with in the last 2 weeks? So it's like I've got an amazing fireman on my teammate in Toronto, and he's in the same boat. It's like he could go on 3-4 calls a night, and if he has it, he could be spreading that to each and every house, right? And now bringing that home. So it's another fear, right?
No, it's a fear of the unknown because we can't see, well, oh God, there's a tick on my hand, like that's the sign. There's no sign.
That's
So
right.
it's like it's in the air, it's touched you, it's whatever. It's
Yeah.
totally
And
freaky.
that's right. And it's adding depression, right? So here, look at, we have barely any physical contact with anybody. And a lot of people, maybe they were all alone already, and that was their only out, was to go out and go grocery shopping or go to bingo, or, you know, like whatever the thing is. And now that's taken away. So now depression comes in with that. That's stress, that's anxiety, and now that's more illness. So it's like it's caking this acidic load all onto your body again and again and again every day. And
Absolutely.
and if you're locked into any kind of news, it's gonna just solidify that all the time, right?
Bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So talking about a little bit about getting prepared in business, being an entrepreneur, your case is a little bit different because you were in this new world of network marketing. You know, before we did Zoom meetings, you were out in meetings. Sabina was out in meetings and talking with people and doing presentations. And now you're doing a lot digitally, as well as sharing the water. But how did you go into this looking at, you know, it's not a brick and mortar business, it's not an at-home business where you're using your hands, or counseling, or sort of that, so to speak. So it's a little bit different. And I think there's more of that type of business out there. And I think women are generally very drawn to that because it's sometimes a second income versus a first. And it can be a first income for some when it builds up to be big enough. But with that, you need to look at how will that affect you and your income if you were to lose, say, your voice, you know, in an accident. How would that affect your business, Roger?
If I was to lose my voice, I mean, you're always looking for ways that it benefits you. And there's always something that benefits. So even with this COVID and now having to use so much digital Zoom, my reach became even bigger because now nobody's recording me at a presentation,
Yeah.
but now I'm able to now stream live around the world and actually help more of my team. So uh, the COVID was actually helped us now, you know, move into something that we've always wanted to do. And we just were procrastinating, right, on whether to do it or not. And, but if I was to lose my voice, I mean, there is so many ways that I could do, because I am kind of handy with the computer. I would like put on a video and just subtitle everything, or I would have somebody else saying what I want them to say. I mean, that's the only thing you can do with
That
with
time frame. Yeah.
yeah, with that kind of thing. But I mean, it's gonna take that little bit to now get rid of the depression that you now you have no voice,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And
But oh, I just want to make sure that everybody listening understands that, you know, it's always the what if. And in your business, luckily it's the two of you, so you always have each other to work around. But let's say, you know, you're a massage therapist or something and you need the use of your hands. And if you don't have that ability, what are you going to do? You would have to tie together with someone to make sure that you don't lose your clients, and have them do it, just like you said. You'd have someone speak for you. So
yeah,
it's called planning. And of course, with your backup plan app, we arranged to make sure that you're doing that planning ahead of time and not waiting for something to happen and then saying, well, what do we do now? But so what about assets in the business? Do you have assets? Like, do you have vehicles and that type of thing like they would in say another self-employed job that people would have?
no, not. I mean, everything with what we have, everything is shipped from the company, all paperwork and everything. We could do everything online. So I mean, just 2 days ago, I completed a purchase for someone in Washington, and I didn't have to leave anything, and the machine's actually getting shipped to them. And the only thing I might end up doing maybe is do a Zoom with them and make sure they hook up their machine right, and maybe show them how the machine works, but I mean, we're very lucky with, like I said, we hit a home run with this company because it's an expensive device, but it also pays you back very high. So commission wise, we're very blessed with one or two sales completely covers your month. And with a team behind you that, I mean, at this point, again, we would never been able to get the government funds because there's always a check coming in somehow. But again, we were lucky enough that we built up something before a COVID showed up or another thing showed up. Like I just watched something on CNN the other night. It was like the Shades of America or whatever, and they were doing explaining on this COVID and then how MLMs and network marketing is heavily pushed right now with everybody trying to sell their little makeups or their little skincare or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the amount that they make is so minuscule that it's very hard to keep an income going. And actually a lot of people fall off because you're just not making enough. And
Well, it's not
like I
worth
said,
it, right?
no, it's not. And I mean, luckily with us is you have a team and a system behind you that you can make pretty good, awesome income right out of the gate, really. So that's,
No, that's like you could build to a full-time job easily.
yeah.
So
And we
with
just
the legislative part, we wanted to talk about that as well, about how, if something happened to you or Sabina, how does that transfer, because it's called business succession planning. So a lot of people don't think about how does that income or how does that business go to you or to who you want it to go to.
Yeah, everything with this company is family orientated. So if ever even if I decide, okay, I've done enough, I have enough, I've got enough invested in investments that I'm making a good enough income that way, everything could be just sent to a family member. So my son, who is pretty high up already, and hopefully he's gonna have kids and give us grandkids that we could just send it right over to him, and it doesn't cost us a thing. So everything just gets put in their name. And that's the other bonus that we're able to do. I know we have a small family and we all kind of do this thing together, but I'm also have to think of the grandkids and then the great grandkids, and we're building a legacy for them, basically, is what we've done. Yeah.
Just like a lot of brick and mortar businesses and manufacturing where the dad would hand it over to the sons or daughters and continue on with it that way. But there's a lot more paperwork and a lot of more legalities around doing that versus what you get to do.
And a lot of people see what dad and mom do in their brick and mortar, and they see how hard the struggle is, and they don't want no part of it. That's a lot of times is what happens. And I mean we're lucky because we're in a relationship building community, what we do, and we're actually building family, and that's basically what it is everyone we sell a unit to, it's like they just become family to us. And especially once you change their life, physically and financially, it's a big difference.
Well, I basically do the same sort of thing. It's a community. And when you become part of getting better prepared in your backup plan, it turns into a bigger family and a bigger community. And we're sharing stories and sharing, well, my aunt did this, well, that didn't work. So what do I do now? And stories come up all the time, and we need to be there for each other. And I think that's really beneficial.
Yeah, exactly.
how would a flood or a fire affect your business? Because, that is something in a regular type of brick and mortar business or an at-home business. How would that affect you?
Tina, all I need is my phone. That's all I need,
To run.
honestly.
And to run.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the flood, I love water too. you know, but again, like we had the fire alarms going the other night. Like we're in a 30, story building, and the fire alarms went off. So what do I grab? I could grab my machine, but I have about 100 other people that I could go get water from. My laptop is replaceable because I have my phone. And I mean, I just really just have to grab that and get out the door, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty much set to go. Like, I mean, you're always thinking about those things. Okay, now if everything was gone,
Yeah.
what do I do? But I think with what the struggle Sabina and I went through, I don't think anything is going to shock us.
Yeah.
Not only military wise, but also Sabina's, working through the farm system and hard work is nothing for us. And
Yeah.
again, we're kind of lucky with what we are because I just have to get my checks changed to another address, and
Right.
away we go.
Well, business wise, you would, it'd be simple, but personally, I
Mhm.
guess the only thing that would be a factor would be your personal information documents, like a filing cabinet or, copies of your bills and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But we can definitely, with the app, fix that part of the personal aspect.
And that's really what I need to find out more about the app, because I mean, I'm big on security and everything else, and I want all my stuff to, close to the nest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tied together so that it's easy for me to now, if my son has to take over
Right.
and if something happens, because honestly, I've been procrastinating this for so long. And every time we go on a trip, because we do a lot of trips all over the place, it's like every time I get onto that plane, it's like, shit, I haven't done my will.
Yeah.
And I know with a lot of the cases that we're in that it's easy. Everybody knows my son, my investor knows my son. So it's like that kind of stuff is taken care of, but all the little things like closing down accounts or,
Yeah.
yeah, that I need for sure your guidance on as well with this app, right?
Yeah, and how many people don't have a will? I mean, you're just one of
Oh
hundreds.
yeah.
I could
Eh,
probably go on to every plane that's going out of YVR today and, ask the whole plane full, and there might be one or two that have a will. And
I mean,
I don't
the
know why we procrastinate. I'm not sure what that is all about, but we just think nothing's going to happen, I think.
yeah, it's always about the other person. It's going to happen to them or whatever. I mean, I had a will when I was 18 years old going to Kuwait,
Yeah.
but I don't want that guy to have any of my stuff because I just looked at my buddy next door here. What's your name? There. Okay, Glenn, it's yours.
You do me, I'll do you.
That's it. I mean, we were young and dumb, and we just wanted to go party and go see the world, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what it was, and I think that's what it is with most people. Is it's not going to happen to them. It only happens over there, and it just takes the wrong step on the sidewalk, and game over,
Yeah.
game changer.
Yeah.
And depends on how much of a headache you want to leave your family as well, right?
Well, and yourself, because sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be death, but it could just be a coma that you're in for, 2 or 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And
Yeah.
um,
Well, they're
you're,
doing that now, right? They're inducing coma with 2 or 3 months on people.
yeah, especially with injuries, big injuries, you have to for the brain and everything else. But yeah,
Yeah.
and then so what does what does your condo, how does your mortgage get met? How does your bills get paid? And if you're single, it even is more complicated because absolutely nobody knows, even how to get into your apartment or how to find anything or where's your accounts. And we don't even get paper copies anymore. So that's out the window as well. So
That's right.
our digital world has become more digital and it's hidden. And so how do we get that better prepared for people? So I think we're coming up to our time, pretty close to it. What is there anything that you would like to add to?
No, I just appreciate people like you that are, like what you're doing. And I mean, to bring awareness is another big thing, but also to know that I think we need to know more about what you have to offer and everybody to share it. And yeah, even if you're not ready right now, we need to share it because we have friends and family that need this even more so. But
And
I mean,
I tell people all the time, there might be 10 different categories in the app. Do one, just do one of them, just like put a list of all your bills down so that somebody knows where to go and what the account number is and how to access it. And even if it just means you writing it on a piece of paper and taking a picture of it, or taking a picture of a note and say where it is located, or anything at all, because people don't know where to find this information when the time comes. And it's the worst time. It's like being in a war and you're trying to find your uniform to put on. Like, that's kind of too late.
yeah.
You
or your neighborhood that's bombed out. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like the flood water is coming down the street, pouring down into your driveway, pouring into your garage, and you're going, oh, geez, we should get that, where's my paperwork? Where's my photos?
That's right.
Too late, too late, too late to get insurance, and it's too late to find your stuff. So yeah, I just want to bring education every week to what we can do to make things easier. I think I personally experienced a death in my family where someone very close to me passed away suddenly, and it's affected me to the point where I had to create this and I had to help people. So by me helping people, I'm helping, not only just that one person, but all the people that need to help them. Now I'm helping them. So it's just a big, big community. Just like you're somebody buys to buy the water, use the water, shares the water, and it just progresses.
That's right. It just snowballs from there.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing no harm, you're just helping. And people realize that, right? And that's the beauty. We're not out to hose anybody. We're out to actually help.
Yeah.
And either take it or not, but
Yeah.
it's there for you.
That's right. And you can't make anybody, but at one point they will find that they need it. Because they've been shown it, and now it's on their top or the back of their mind, and at some point they'll find that now's the time. Now's the time to do it, or drink the water, or use the water, or whatever. Yeah. And basically it's the same for me. So no, I really appreciate today's conversation. I'm sure we're going to have more of these maybe in a month or two. We could talk about a little bit more. 30-40 minutes is never long enough when we get going. And I love your story. I love how it changed your world and how it's changing my world. It's really amazing, really, really amazing. And I had written a book called In the Blink of an Eye, which is literally what can happen to anyone. And my car accident was enough to show me, with my concussion and my PTSD, that drinking the water did have an effect on me feeling better. And you don't know that until you feel better. Just like you said.
That's right.
You just don't. Anybody can tell you, but you don't really believe it until until you start feeling better.
And that, or take it away.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it's not in your life anymore, then you start, oh yeah, there's a big difference, right?
Yeah. And I think once you start feeling better, then you start thinking, okay, how can I get better prepared? How can we have a plan? How can we, how many people have emergency plans? I mean, I think we used to have one in class in school, but
Hide under the desk.
who has one? So I think with the coronavirus, definitely put us all in a mindset of how do we get better prepared, or how do we lessen our load of definitely of bills, because I think a lot of my clients were calling me saying, can I get rid of this? Can I get rid of that? Or can I move this around, or vice versa. So by really looking at your life, and I think it's caused either marriages or divorce, I think it's caused all sorts of different variations. This is a huge year for change. And I think this year is going to be big for both you and I, sharing, educating, and helping people realize that they can live better in whatever that might look like for them.
Exactly. Awesome, girl.
I really appreciate you coming out today for our podcast.
Thanks for hearing my story.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful. And I'll share your links down below for for our live video tomorrow and for our podcast today. So anybody who wants to reach out to you, they can. And I know I'll be talking to you soon because you have a lot more to say.
That's right. And Kangen Water, if you want to reach me real fast, Kangen Water Port Moody, that's
oh, that's easy.
fastest way to look at. Yeah, just Google it and you'll find me.
Okay. And with my app, it's on Google Play and iTunes now. It's available in a digital format on the website, yourbackupplan.ca. And stay safe, everybody. Thank you again, Roger, for coming out. And stay safe and be healthy and wear your mask and wash your hands.
Thanks.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye now.